the Qur'an or our life right now and the next life is something is so important, and the two definitely come together. And when we think about this, subhanAllah, it can be, sometimes we can view it from a really personal point of view, that okay, my relationship with Quran only exists within me, it doesn't go anywhere beyond that, and we have to kind of break out of that mentality that Islam and the Quran is for the whole of life. And if we want to know how to have that close relationship, what do? We look at the Prophet ﷺ, we look at the Sahaba, and these were people who, you can see they had Islam inwardly and outwardly. They lived by the Quran in this way, isn't it? So whether they were going through tests, no matter what it was, they would always refer to that. And it actually makes me think about Surah Al-Qalam. It beautifully kind of, I mean, every surah will kind of reflect this, but there were some really beautiful parts within it that I just wanted to highlight. So talking about the Prophet's true character, so it says that verily you are an exalted standard of character, and that's not just about, you know, relating the Quran, relating this issue just to his character specifically. That Ibn Kathir in his tafsir says that this would mean that he would act according to the commands and prohibitions of the Quran in a complete way. That he moulded his personality, even his desires, to what Allah Ta'ala loves. Whatever Allah Ta'ala commanded it, he did it. Whatever he forbade, he didn't do it. He would stay away from it. And this is the thing, to take it down another branch, inshallah, that it talks also about how we are not allowed to compromise as well. This also affects that relationship with the next life. That just as we have favoured you and given you an upright legislation and great standard of character, so do not obey the deniers. They wish that you should compromise with them, so they too would compromise with you. You know, so many times we feel that we have to compromise with, you know, with the teachings of the Quran in order to get by in life, whether it's, you know, of our children and their learning and things like that. You know, what's going to happen to their future, what's going to happen to their, the money and their job and all that kind of stuff. And we can't. That relationship is going to break if we don't observe it correctly and have that trust in Allah.
I think it's because, it's because we don't really kind of connect the fact that if we're compromising our deen, we're then saying that Allah doesn't know us as well as we say He does, so therefore we're able to judge things for ourselves and say, well, actually, no, that's a bit too much. I think I might cut down on this a bit, just so, to make things easier, where in fact we know that Allah knows us inside out. He's the one who made us, and subhanAllah, He knows better than we do. So why should we feel the need to compromise on certain things?
I mean, there's some people, Muslim and non-Muslim, are calling for even certain ayahs to be taken out of the Quran, even like to completely redefine our understanding of that relationship, even that we have with the wider Muslim ummah abroad, even though that's clearly stated in the Quran. It's quite sad that, if we ever move from that, like even I wish I had the time to kind of talk about this, but there's a story of the garden within Surah Al-Qalam that talks about the people who didn't do what they were meant to do. They were meant to give, the fruits of the garden to the people, the miskin, the people who were hungry, yet they kept it for themselves and they were disobedient and they were reprimanded for that. And we have this beautiful garden. What is that? That is the deen, isn't it? The Quran and the Sunnah. And for us not to live it and not to, in a complete way is something we should be worried about, isn't it?
I mean, we've got, mashallah, there are... Sorry, Sister Abid.
So I want to add something. Even if you read in Quran and you read ayahs in Quran, you will see the ayahs which talk about God mercy more than which talk about God punishment. So I think we should be always optimistic, like God understand our psychology and we understand we are a sinful people and we always make sense, even we realize or we don't realize. And this is why the door of forgiveness always open until the last breath we have. Even once we did, Prophet ﷺ, he always said that you should, even when you are like in your dead bed, like you should always think positive of God and so I think this is so important. Like, don't be hopeless, don't think that you did too much. Like, I think the door is still open for anyone, and this is what Quran also talk about this. So don't think, oh, I did too much or this is too much, or slowly, even if you cannot apply everything, like slowly, like even Quran, when start with them, like Prophet ﷺ start teaching them the prayer or the time of the prayer. At that time they were like, for example, drinking alcohol, so slowly in stages, like, so don't, even if some people, they try to enforce themselves to apply everything once. I think this is wrong. You should take yourself slowly,
yeah,
inshallah.
Well,
but if you can, why not? But if you cannot, then don't like leave it, because some people, they said either I do it all or just I
do
leave
nothing.
it.
Yeah.
This is
Well, mashallah, we've got a call from a brother in Nigeria. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, sister.
Yes, brother, do you have a comment or a question?
Yes, I have both.
Okay.
I said, the way she talked about tajweed.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I have a comment about tajweed. I said that the scholar that said that whoever recites the Holy Quran without tajweed has committed a sin, because the Holy Prophet recited the Quran with tajweed.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's my comment, and that's very good. Tajweed is very important. So my question is, I came across a hadith. The hadith was talking about whoever recites the Holy Quran 10 times, 10 ayats of the Holy Quran per day, Allah will not write him in the list of people that forgot about him in the dunya, or neither will he write him in the list of people that remember him constantly in the dunya. And whoever recites 100 ayahs of Quran per day, Allah will write him in the people that constantly remember him in the dunya. So I want you, please, sisters, to any of you know the authenticity of the hadith, please?
Okay, Jazakumullah khair, brother, for that call. As the brother was saying that tajweed is very important, he said that, making a mistake in your recitation could amount to you committing a sin, subhanAllah, so it just shows the importance. And for the authenticity of the hadith, brother, it'd be good for you, inshallah, to tune into Islamica, where you'll be able to ask the Sheikh for the authenticity of that hadith, inshallah. But I think it kind of shows an important point of the fact that, the more that we remember Allah, Allah remembers us as well. So, Zainab, I wanted to come to you and ask you, what are the benefits or rewards of reciting certain surahs within the Qur'an?
I wish I had all day to go through every single surah, because there's so many benefits, and some of them are very specific to different surahs, but mashallah, I thought I would go through two today. So in Surah Yasin, so many hadith about Surah Yasin. Everything has a heart, and the heart of the Quran is Yasin. So whoever recites Yasin, Allah will inscribe for him the reward of reciting the Quran 10 times, and that's by Tirmidhi. And my next one from the next hadith is, whoever recites the Yasin at night will be forgiven, and other versions say whoever recites the Yasin in the morning and the night. Goes on, there's so many others. As quoted by Ibn Kathir's tafsir, he was saying that Yasin actually eases one's hardships, so it can, subhanAllah, can help you so much in life. If anyone recites Yasin for Allah's pleasure, his past sins will be forgiven, so recite it on it and those who are dying. SubhanAllah, it just goes on. And there's so many others. Shall I carry on to more?
Sister Abir, I'm sure you have
I
some.
will add about the short
Okay,
surahs like Al-Mu'awwidhat, like Qul A'udhu Birabbil Falaq wa Qul A'udhu Birabbin Nas. I think these are so important, like to read them. It's give you protection, like even give you healing from like in Ruqya, these surahs and plus other surahs. So I think it's so important. And also Fatiha is so important, like I think, because this is like dialogue with God once you talk, when you pray, and this is so important if you notice. And some people, they said like even you can do ruqya, ruqya, like if you feel like you are tired or something, or whatever, black magic or evil eye, whatever. So I think Fatiha is also like something essential in our daily life when we pray, when something. And the idea of reading Quran and feeling protection, like with God's words, I think is so important for human beings, for even human psychology. So once he go outside his home and facing the life, I think he will face it with a strong, and his heart is open to life. He feel the protection. He feels someone behind him, support him. So I think it's so important. Like I think God Subhanahu wa Taala, He's the one, He understands how a human feeling.
Allah puts so much mercy on us in terms of when we are worshipping Him and the recitation of the Quran, and the fact that we have to recite the Quran
and
even when we're praying.
It's easy for a human being, like just one source. He owns everything. Like no one, like not your boss, not your bank account, nothing. Like just God, He owns everything, and He's the one who can give you. So if you give Him just this little time, like I always, like how I start reading Quran, just I read like two pages, like after each prayer. Or even just one page. Slowly you will notice that you're improving in your reading, and even like take your time, also read slowly and try to understand. So
yes, subhanAllah. I mean, there's a lot of mercy. I mean, it's like when after you've done your salah, you feel this sort of calm descend upon you, and you feel this tranquility and this sort of
indeed,
contentment once you finish. And that's one of the miracles of the Qur'an, isn't it? It's the fact
even
that
they said that reading Quran, it's improve your intelligence and your creativity, and some people notice this.
Well, Sister Abir, you know, it's said that the Qur'an can either raise you or lower you in ranks.
Indeed,
Yes.
it is.
What does this
Like,
mean?
we have this beautiful story in Quran where at the time of Umar bin al-Khattab, when he was Khalifa, and he wanted to put someone in the leadership of Mecca. So he chose a man, he's like, then the people come to ask him to who you'll put in charge of Mecca. He said, I think Ibn Abbas, and he said, why you choose him? Like, he's freed from slave. But he didn't choose someone like, especially when
From
we
a
talk
high
about
rank,
Mecca, they have this noble tribe, which is Quraysh, and they put like, you know, like your president or your leadership, he's like freed from slave. He said no, because he read the Quran, and he's knowledgeable about the Quran and about the teaching of the Quran, and this is why he chose him, and this is why he raised him to be like in the leadership of Mecca. And I think this is so important, and this is what the Prophet ﷺ said, Quran raise us in this life or in the other life. So I think it's so important to be.
Just to add to that, inshallah, you made a point earlier on about the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and things like that. And that's the thing, when we do, the more invested we become in the Quran and the Sunnah, the more we live by it, the more we see the mercy in this life and the next, isn't it?
The least mistake we'll do in this life, because in Quran teach us how to live this life.
Absolutely.
Like not eating halal food, earn halal money, not stealing, not these things. So less mistake you will do, and then you will be end up more successful, and even less wasting your time. You will be more focusing. So I think this is so important.
Sisters, just briefly before we wrap up this segment, what advice can you give to brothers and sisters out there in helping to strengthen that bond with the Quran and in reciting it? So, Sister Abir.
I think in everything, not just in reciting Quran, people should stop excuses, because a lot of people do excuses either from shaitan or from themselves. I think what's good for you, you should do it. Doesn't matter. Stop quitting excuses. Some people, they have this excuse, as we said before, like the language. I don't think language, there are some people, they said Arabic language is the most difficult. No, it's not the most difficult. It is need a lot of efforts to do it, but it's not the most difficult language in the world. And I think you should get a teacher, or there are like study circle, you can join them, and then I think this is so important, to make efforts and to make time, and the more efforts you make toward Allah, the more He will,
He will give you.
Yes, I think this is so important.
Personally, one of the easiest ways of making your heart connected to the Quran is by reading stories of the prophets, learning about Sahaba, their lives, how they lived by Islam. You can't help but read these stories, and especially, you know, when for example, the stories of the prophets, if it's explained correctly at length, it is so beautiful and so touching and so motivating that you can't help but just completely be in love with the stories, and then by extension also by the Quran. It triggers that spark within you to want to know more, and just, you know, listen to those talks, read those things, and just get into it, and you'll just love it.
Just pushing yourself, isn't it, to make that first step?
Pushing yourself. And you know, the more you read Quran, the more you engage in the stories of Quran. And Quran, subhanallah, you know, Allah, the way He put it, like stories, most of Quran, if you look, it's a story. And story, the most thing like make you enjoy, even when you read the Quran, and even learning lessons, a lot of lessons from Prophet lives, from their stories in the Quran.
I found that learning Arabic and the Quran simultaneously helps, because sometimes you pick up a lot of words, and a lot of words are repeated in the Quran. So mashallah, once you start to understand, oh, I know what that word is, it kind of gives you that zeal to want to do more. Because I remember I had the same feeling. One day I was sitting in a Jum'ah khutbah, and I realized I could understand half of what the Imam was saying when he was speaking in Arabic, and I just couldn't believe it. So mashallah, it's one of those things that you take that step first, and then you know, Allah will make it easier for you along the way, and you find the motivation and inspiration just from that first step that you take to continue, inshallah.
And slowly again.
Slowly. Pace yourselves.
Yeah, patient, like you should be patient.
Jazakallah khair, sisters.
Inshallah.
Mu'az Juhani radiallahu anhu reports that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever reads the Qur'an and acts upon what is contained in it, his parents will be made to wear a crown on the day of judgment, the brightness of which will excel that of the sun, if the same were within your worldly houses. So what do you think about the person who himself acts upon it? And this is from Ahmed. Every element of the Qur'an calls us to it. In its healing, reward and guidance, the Qur'an is blessed and anyone who associates with it is blessed. However, the hadith connects with two core issues of the Qur'an which are of paramount importance. That of reciting, memorizing and practicing what we learn. We cannot afford to strive to learn the lessons and themes of the Qur'an whilst not seeing the importance of living by the wisdom contained within its pages. So, it's always great to end the discussion with a reminder, but what do you think about the issue? We'd love to hear from you and your comments. Please email us at womenam@islamchannel.tv or on our Facebook page or tweet us at islamchannel #womensam. So we're off to another break, but do stay tuned. We will be back with our last segment where we'll be taking a look at a dilemma. So stay tuned. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Family. Bouncy castles, face painting, arts and crafts, beauty corner, cakes, food and much, much more. Organised to raise funds for Syrian victims and Dawah. To book a stall, please phone 0121 773 0137. Bring your family and friends for a great day out. Entrance is free.
Assalamu alaikum sisters and welcome back to Women's AM. I'm your host Ayan and on the panel today we have our sister Zainab and our special guest Dr. Abir. So sisters, mashallah, we're all back and next up is our segment Daily Dilemma. In this segment, we discuss and advise on issues facing sisters out there. So today's dilemma is, I'm a revert still finding my own feet in terms of Islamic knowledge, but my family and friends ask me many questions. I want to give them da'wah, but I'm not sure if I'm qualified to do so. So sisters, how would you advise her?
Actually, it's very interesting because that day in Islamic Culture Center, they have like the new Muslims. So they're giving a talk and they like support each other. And I think it's so important to be around the new Muslims. So they will give her better advice or something. And when it's come to da'wah, I think she should be patient with her family, not pushing them or rushing them. And it's not necessary to have all the knowledge. Like start with your own story, for example, or start even like Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam بلغني ولو آية, even just one ayah you tell your family or whoever you want to do da'wah for, and sure we should do da'wah for everyone. Like even just one ayah, it will be enough. So as much as you have information, give them, try to give them, but don't pressurize them. Try to be patient, try to be like understanding their situation, because this is like a change for them. Especially there are some family, they don't accept it easily. Some family, they are very open-minded and they accept it easily.
So you're right. I think sometimes we tend to forget that it's not only about the brothers or sisters who revert, who are changing, but it's also their families who are coming to terms with those changes as well.
Yeah.
What would you advise, Zainab?
You know, I think it's interesting when people have kind of think that whether they're reverts or whether they must be Muslims their whole lives, that there has to be this qualification in order to do da'wah or to talk about Islam. This isn't something that exists. You know, as long as you know, this is the thing, as long as you know one ayah, your responsibility is to convey it. And even there's, you know, in terms of there are ayahs and hadith that talk about the fard of actually doing da'wah and the beauty of it and the honor of it. This is the practice of the prophets, you know, alayhi salam. So it's important that we don't kind of just leave it to other people, but like the sister was saying, you go out there and you learn and you know, but the process is you kind of, to make sure you don't just kind of hearsay style, just I'm going to take whatever anyone says. You know, you investigate do your research and investigate what you're learning. You know, if you have an ayah, look at the tafsir. If you're looking at a hadith, try to involve yourself in the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You know, and it gives you context and a deeper understanding of how these ayahs and hadith are meant to be lived. Without that context, literally anyone can have any interpretation of what they were saying. And even, subhanAllah, before even the show was airing, we were having a debate about, you know, one of the stories and the Islamic perspective on it. This never ends. It's okay, you know, and that's healthy. You know, that's actually good.
That's right,
It's true. I mean, I remember my own sort of experience of trying to give dawah. There have been times when I've been completely stumped by questions I've been asked, and I look at them and I think, God, I don't really know how to answer that question. And it's okay to feel that way as well. It gives you the opportunity to kind of go back and find out. Exactly. And then that gives you, you know, it teaches you a way to give better da'wah as well. And also, inshallah, gives you the you know, you can anticipate the sort of questions that you're going to get next time you're speaking to someone and prepare you for that.
That is a really, really excellent point, because sometimes when we engage in da'wah, it can become a battle of the egos. I want to beat you, you want to beat me, I want to dominate you, you want to dominate me. This has absolutely nothing to do with dawah and nothing to do with the teaching of Islam. It's about two people wanting to find the truth. So you got to put that arrogance and that ego to the side, crush it, get rid of it. And so when you come across the situations where you don't know, that's, alhamdulillah, oh, I've found something I don't know, let me go and investigate it, let me build myself some more. There is no dishonor or humiliation in that. There really isn't. And it's sad that it can become like this kind of...
And when it comes to da'wah, there is no just one way for da'wah. In Qur'an, وَادْعُوا إِلَى سَبِيلِ رَبِّكَ بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ, mean the best way you find it at that time. So everyone has his own interest. Maybe my mom, she has her own thing. Or, you know, like you find what's this, you know, like your dad or your mom or your brother, what his interest, and talk about the Islam point of view on this. But again, if she don't have enough knowledge about this, then whatever she has, and then she seek more knowledge, and then she ask, you know, like other people what they did in her situation or in his situation, so what exactly they should do. And just be patient and be, you know, like tolerance to them, understanding their situation, and just slowly.
Yeah, because even understanding where they're coming from or their point of view helps you in what you're going to say to them as well, and how you approach them. Because I know sometimes, especially within family, you really, because you believe that it's the truth and you really want them to, you know, take that as the truth as well, you get all passionate about it, and then, you know, all of the message that you're trying to get across kind of gets lost in that passion, doesn't it? So it's about approaching it in the right way and remembering that everybody, you know, has their own time in which they accept certain things or come round to certain things, just as you would have done as well. So I don't know, you're nodding away at me. I'm thinking that you have something else to add here.
No, I completely agree with that. That so much of what we say is how we say it. And if we go around offending people because, you know, we have the fear of God in us or whatever it is, you know, it's just not acceptable. There is a certain etiquette that comes along with giving dawah in the first place, and that's very important. And this is the thing, just mirror what the Prophet ﷺ did. It's very, very obvious. It's not that difficult. If you know him, you know how to, you know, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then you know how to behave. And this was not, his behaviour was never, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was never to be rude or anything like that, no matter how people were behaving towards him. So it's so important. It can turn people away.
It's about being patient, inshallah, and just finding the right way of speaking.
I'm trying to find support from inside family. That day, one of the sisters, her name is Alex, she's American, and she said like she found her sister like a support for her, so she helped her once she went, so she talked first with her, like telling her sister, and then she helped her talking with the other part of the family.
It's finding the right
support,
ear as well.
Friends of the family, someone like even...
MashaAllah. Jazakallah khair, sisters, for that. We've got some great advice from the panel on what can be a delicate situation. So Jazakallah khair for that, sisters. So just another reminder about our competition this week. We are giving away 3 men's shirts from We Hear, We Obey. This week there will be 3 winners to be announced with a chance to win these fabulous goodies. So all you have to do is answer the following question. Who is the first Hafiz al-Qur'an? Is it A, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, B, Jibril alayhi salam, or C, Ibrahim alayhi salam? To enter, email your answers A, B or C to womensam@islamchannel.tv along with your name and address and what you most like about Women's AM. The deadline for entries is Friday 14th of February at 4 p.m. All applicants need to be over 18 and residing in the UK, so please note only 1 entry per person per household. Winners will be randomly selected from the correct entries, and the winner's name will be announced on Monday's show. So get entering, don't lose your chance on getting a brilliant prize. So, and also email us with comments and suggestions to make the show the best it can be, and we'll